Well, I mean, for me personally, I think it really depends on people. I'm unfortunately, you know, well, not unfortunately, but I'm very lucky to do what I do. But I am one of those people that has to do it. You know, I can't not do it. And sometimes I wish I could stop, but I can't. You know, I mean, like, of course I have children, I take care of my children, so it's not like I'm working 24 hours a day. But the sense that, you know, I mean, again, I'm thinking of Trigorin in the Seagull, because he said, you know, it's the girl, is Nina saying how glamorous it must be to be a writer and everything. And he's saying, well, you know, I get up in the morning and I write a story and I finish a story, and just as I'm finishing, another story comes into my head, and I can't even like go like take a rest when I have to go to this other story. And then none of them, I don't like any of them when I'm finished with them. And yet, you know, and it's just sort of like this sort of sense that you must go on. And it's, I don't know, and that there is something true about that. I've never been able to repress it. I think I was also raised, you know, by artists to be an artist. Sort of like tennis players raise their children to be tennis players. Got to get out and practice. And there are pros and cons to that, you know. I mean, it's like but that's what I was always meant to do. And so the idea of repressing it would be like dying. I mean, I would really feel like then I could like just not breathe. That would be another alternative. It would be similar. I think there have been times where I haven't had any, like I've been blocked. I have been blocked in periods, but I've never been repressed. I mean, I suppose that's a kind of repression, but it comes from inside of myself. I think when you're a mother, it's a very, very difficult thing. In some ways, but writing in a way is one of the easiest things, because you spend, you know, 3 or 4 hours writing in the morning, and once they go to school, you know, you can be done by the time they get home, and then the rest, you know, you might be thinking at times, but they don't feel that so much, and, you know, you can still be there for them, and, you know, so directing is much more difficult, and that's why, and the reasons I only do it every few years, you know. I mean, the time that happened to me, I just waited it out. I think it was right after I got married, and I was very happy, and but also very kind of disoriented, and I didn't know how to handle it. Because it had never happened to me before. And I actually ended up volunteering in a women's shelter working with kids, because I found that I just had to do something that was in some way useful, because I couldn't stand the fact that, you know, I didn't have any, and I didn't have kids at that time, so obviously, so. I think as a young girl, my father was older. He wasn't that old, I now realize, but I mean, I thought he was really old, like he was 46 when I was born, so he was kind of, you know, on the older side. And I was always very afraid of him dying, and I think the thought of death, in particular men confronting death, thinking about death, has always been really touching to me and compelling, and I think that that's probably why I write about it, you know, yeah, the lust for life and the fear of death, and, you know, and what those things make you do, and how they make you to behave. Yes. I don't know, I haven't thought about that so much. But I think women do probably confront death differently. I don't know. You know, I haven't really explored that yet. Although I did get to watch both my parents die, so I do have, unfortunately, you know, some experience. But yeah, I don't know. I think that writing is a kind of possession. You know, it's an act of possession. So when you become a character in your head, which I think you have to do to write it properly and profoundly, you're doing both, right? You're confronting it as the person, but you've become the person. So, so it's kind of you're going through it, but through the filter of that character. You know, well, first of all, you know, suddenly, if I died, the problem would be that my kids wouldn't have a mother. It wasn't, I would be dead, you know, which would have been the thing I would be worried about before. I think my selfishness, you know, I became not selfless, but an instinct for self-sacrifice did pop right up out of nowhere, really, because I wouldn't have been the most self-sacrificing person. I was pretty much, you know, focused on what I was trying to do, my work and stuff, and yeah, you know, somebody else is more important. It really does become that. It doesn't, in a funny way, though, it didn't make my work any less. It just sort of left my work there, and then something else kind of went slightly up, you know, above it. It didn't, the work didn't diminish, and I didn't sort of, you know, put it away or to one side. And I actually became more productive as a mother because I had to use my time. I wasn't sort of dreaming and walking around in a dream. I was really much more thinking, okay, I have 3 hours. I have to work. I have to get something done. Yeah, I fear that, you know, I think that life, planetary life is, you know, I don't mean in an ecological way, I mean in a human way, is constantly checking, it's checks and balances. It's positive and it's negative. And things are constantly being righted because the two impulses are constantly happening, you know. And I just worry that I think that there's a deep anarchic void inside of us as human beings, which might really end up kind of taking over in a certain way, that we just would slip up and that complete chaos would begin to, you know, I think chaos is always at the edge of everything, and we're always trying to kind of fend it off, to control everything. You know, children, if you look at children, I mean, that they have very strong, uncontrollable emotions, which gradually they learn to master. But really, politics, life, human life is so emotional. Everything that all the things that we try to rationalize and think of in rational ways are emotional. Nationalism, you know, our whole idea of countryhood, you know, victory, defeat, all these words are just basic childhood words that, you know, it's a very primitive, we're primitive. And I sometimes, I'm amazed at how far we've gotten, that we've gotten away with it this long, that civilization is sort of still, we're still holding up more or less. But I mean, that's only when I really think about it. I'm not always thinking that way.